Your alarm doesn't go off. You spill coffee on the one clean shirt you had left. And somewhere between the burnt toast and the traffic jam, you say the magic words. Of course, of course this is happening. And from that moment on, the day obeys. The printer jams. The meeting goes sideways. You hit every red light in the city like you planned the route yourself. Here's the uncomfortable part. That wasn't bad luck. That was a manifestation, a flawless one, delivered on time, exactly as ordered. You've been told manifesting is hard, that you have to visualize every morning, hold the frequency, believe without doubting. And you've tried. And mostly, nothing. So here's the flip. You are not bad at manifesting. You're excellent at it. World class, even. You've just spent years running the machine in reverse. In the next few minutes, I'll show you what's actually happening inside a bad day spiral, the two parts of you that make it work so well, and how to point the whole thing the other way. Let's go back to that morning. The spilled coffee didn't ruin your day. Physics doesn't care about your shirt. What ruined your day happened about 4 seconds later when a thought showed up. This whole day is going to be a disaster. And instead of arguing, your gut agreed. Instantly, completely, no hesitation. Notice something strange about that moment. You didn't have to visualize the disaster. You didn't repeat affirmations about traffic. You didn't journal about the printer. The feeling and the thought just clicked together on their own. Vadim Zeland, the author of Reality Transurfing, points at this exact thing. He says our worst expectations come true so reliably because the heart and mind unite in negative expectation. Unite, that's the key word, and we'll unpack it in a second. Try this right now. Think of something you're genuinely worried about and notice how fast the feeling arrives. You don't have to work for it. It's just there, fully loaded. Now try to feel the joy of already having your dream life. Hear that? That grinding sound? Those are the gears. Worry comes pre-assembled. Joy apparently requires tools and an instruction manual. Why? To answer that, you need to meet the two characters running this whole operation. When I say mind, I mean everything conscious. Thoughts, words, logic, plans. Picture a clerk at a desk, clipboard, calculator, files everywhere. Very busy, slightly stressed. The heart, or the soul, if you like, is everything underneath that. It doesn't think, it feels. It doesn't speak a single word of any human language. Picture a kid standing in a field holding a kite, staring at the sky. No clipboard, no plan. But the kid can feel things the clerk can't. And here's the division of labor that makes manifestation work. Or not. The heart generates the energy. The mind directs it. The best picture for this is a sail. The heart can feel the wind, the force that actually moves your life from one track to another. But the heart has no sail. It just gets blown around, like a kite with no string. The mind can build a sail. It has willpower, focus, direction. But the mind can't feel wind at all. It stands on the deck, checking the forecast on a clipboard, feeling nothing. Separately, useless. A wind feeler with no sail and a sail builder with no wind. But when they agree, when the thought in your head and the feeling in your chest point at the same picture, the sail fills. And things start moving with a speed that feels, honestly, a little unfair. Fear is the proof. Fear is the one language both of them speak fluently. The mind says this will go wrong, the heart floods with dread, and boom, unity, instant sail, full wind, wrong direction. Which raises the real question. Why does that unity never show up when you sit down to visualize the things you actually want? You know the scene. You sit down, Close your eyes. Picture the house, the career, the person. The picture is technically correct and completely dead. You're narrating a slideshow to an empty room, so you squeeze harder. Feel it, you tell yourself. Feel the gratitude. Nothing. Now you're just a person alone in a room, aggressively demanding joy from yourself, which you may notice is not joy. Two things cause this, and they're both fixable. First, you want it too badly. When a goal becomes life or death, when it's the thing that will finally fix you, fear of failure gets baked into every thought about it, and the heart reads feelings, remember, not words. So while your mind is chanting abundance, your heart hears the actual feeling underneath desperation. It's like gripping a bird tighter to make it sing. The grip is the problem. Second, and this one stings, sometimes the feeling won't come because the heart just isn't in it. The goal was never yours. It belongs to your parents, your feed, your industry. The mind marches toward it, dragging the heart behind like a kid being pulled through a shopping mall. You can march for years like that. The sale never fills. Here's the reframe that changes everything. A missing feeling is not a failure. It's a message. Either the stakes are too high or the goal is wrong. Both are useful to know. Your heart isn't broken. It's answering. You've just been reading its silence as a malfunction instead of as a no. Okay, so you can't force unity. Then how do you actually get it? Four things, all of them practical. One, lower the stakes. Take the goal off the altar. It's not your last chance at happiness. It's one scenario out of many, and treating it that way relaxes the grip. The bird sings when you open your hand. And if that sounds too casual, look at how you manifest disasters. Effortlessly, precisely because in that moment, you're not trying at all. Two, speak the heart's language. The heart is illiterate. It cannot read your affirmations. Words mean nothing to it. So stop sending a text. Send it scenes. Don't recite, I am successful. Put yourself inside one ordinary morning of the life you want. The smell of that kitchen. The feel of that first unhurried coffee. If the heart feels at home in the scene, it settles in like a cat finding a sunbeam. That quiet comfort, that's a yes. 3. Learn to hear the no. Before any decision, there's a split second. Before the mind starts arguing, where the heart has already voted. A subtle sinking or a subtle lift. It's quiet, and the mind talks over it fast. Your only job is to catch it before the clipboard guy starts his presentation. 4. Stop storming. Start visiting. The fortress is taken by lengthy siege, not by one heroic assault. Unity isn't a breakthrough, it's a habit. Visit your scene daily, casually, the way you'd rewatch a favorite show. No pressure, no deadline. The heart learns to trust pictures it sees often. And underneath all four, one quiet permission. Remember the Wizard of Oz? The Scarecrow wanted a brain, the Tin Man wanted a heart, the Lion wanted courage. And every one of them already had the thing they were asking for. They just needed someone official looking to say it out loud. There is no wizard. There's just you, allowed to want what you actually want. So, the bad day spiral. It was never a curse. It was a demonstration. Every day that snowballed from one spilled coffee was your heart and mind proving, flawlessly, that when they agree, reality listens. You've already done the hard part. You've spent years proving the machine works. All that's left is to turn it around. Tell me in the comments about the last time you caught a spiral in progress. That exact moment you noticed the day tipping. That moment of noticing matters more than you think.